there. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, July 21st. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we have the latest waiver wire moves, more third base injuries, start or sit decisions, and much more. But let's jump in.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Oh my goodness gracious, Scott. And there's one name that jumps to the top of the list, and his name is Quinn Priester, who dominated the Dodgers. 6 shutout innings, 3 hits, 0 walks, 10 strikeouts, had 12 whiffs on 77 pitches here. Limited hard contact. He used this cutter more, which, he's been progressively using more as the season has gone on, and it was a very good pitch for him in this one. The breaking pitches perform quite well. Typically we want him to use his sinker less, but it was a good pitch for him in this one. It seems like the Brewers have helped Quinn Priester kind of figure something out here with this pitch mix, adding that cutter in. And the fact that his control has gotten so much better this season. If you look at his last 12 games, that includes 8 starts and 4 bulk relief appearances, it's a 2.58 ERA, a 101 whip, 8K per 9. Okay, you want more strikeouts, but how can you argue with those ratios, the way he's pitching right now, the ground balls that he's getting as well? At 74% rostered, Scott, I stopped short of saying Quinn Priester is like a must-roster pitcher, but obviously this performance is worth talking about. What do you think about Quinn Priester?
I mean, to a certain extent, he is a must-roster pitcher. I suppose in the shallowest leagues, you just may not be able to find room for him, but he has been great, honestly great in his last 10 starts with the 2.41 ERA, 102 whip, 8.8 K per 9. So right at a K per inning. And like he has the sort of profile, Quinn Priester, where you don't really need him striking out guys because he's such a good ground ball pitcher. 50 on the year, a 58% ground ball rate. That's Christopher Sanchez. And we always talk about how good Christopher Sanchez is at getting ground balls and how we don't necessarily need him striking out batters. It's nice that he's done it well this year, but that's, there's always a bit of a trade-off there for Sanchez between the strikeouts and the walks. But the reason why he's good ultimately is the ground ball rate, and Priester's doing the same thing. And you mentioned the Brewers seem to have unlocked this potential in him. They've been one of the best organizations at developing pitchers in recent years. They're not shouted as loudly. They're not lauded as loudly, I guess, for that as maybe some other organizations are. But, who had heard of Chad Patrick prior to this season? Or, Logan Henderson wasn't a big prospect. He had some good minor league numbers last year, but wasn't a big prospect until we saw him pitch in the majors for the Brewers. So like they're doing it as well this year as any other year. I don't know if you remember back when we were making preseason predictions. It's like, well, obviously the Cubs are going to win the Central. It's the best roster on paper. You hate to write off the Brewers because they somehow always figure out a way to be in it, but I just don't see how they have the pitching. Well, the Brewers are very much in it because they've just managed to do the usual Brewers thing of cobbling together the pitching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they are just on a roll right now. Obviously, they just swept the Dodgers. They swept the season series against the Dodgers, so they won all 6 of those games there. They've won 10 games in a row. They are tied with the Chicago Cubs for the best record in the National League, and I believe, tied for the second best record in all of baseball with the Chicago Cubs. So, magical season. Why would we ever doubt the Milwaukee Brewers? They always find a way to get it done. Getting back to Quinn Priester here, 74% rostered. Some names that are rostered in a few more leagues on CBS. Someone like a Clayton Kershaw, Scott. I know the results have mostly been okay for him in terms of keeping runs off the board and everything, but there's not many strikeouts. That's a swap I would be okay making, dropping a Clayton Kershaw to get Quinn Priester.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I'd be fine with that. I haven't given Clayton Kershaw much thought this year. I was surprised, just looking at his game log after his not so great start Sunday. 4 of his past 6 starts were 6 innings or more. It kind of snuck up on me that the Dodgers were letting Kershaw work that deep into games. And so that does help his appeal. But overall, I think Priester has more.
Yeah. And two other names that are rostered in more leagues, Brian Bayo and Will Warren. I would be okay swapping both of those out for Quinn Priester.
Yeah. Well, especially Warren. I don't see much there left for Warren. I mean, there are some interesting details with some of his individual pitches that we've talked about every time we've talked about him this year, but he's just not getting the results. Bayo's been pretty stable with that new cutter. He had another good start over the weekend. But Priester has shown more upside, I feel like. And it's not like Priester came out of nowhere. He was a top 100 type prospect with the Pirates. So, you know, that if you have reservations about him, maybe that's enough to tip you over.
We'll talk about some of these more names in depth a little bit later on, but we had a bunch of pitchers in shallow leagues pitch pretty well this weekend. Just mentioned Priester. Taj Bradley had a good start. Brandon Pfaadt, that's 2 great starts in a row for him. Ryan Nelson, Trevor Rogers, Jose Soriano. So all those names, Scott, would you put Priester at the top of that list? Again, Soriano, Trevor Rogers, Ryan Nelson, Brandon Pfaadt, and Taj Bradley are the other shallow league names there.
Yeah, I'd have to. I mean, as good as this start was against the Dodgers, and like I said, last 10 starts for Quinn Priester, it's a 2.41 ERA, 102 WHIP, right at a strikeout per inning.
Yep.
Hard to argue against that.
Right there with you. And Quinn Priester gets the Mariners this week. Their lineup has been better recently, but I still don't think it's a great lineup overall. So not completely scared off using Quinn Priester in that spot. All right, Scott, over to you. Player of the weekend, another potential waiver wire pitcher, Brandon Walter, man. He just continues to pitch well.
Yep. He also pitched on Friday. He also had a good start. It was actually at Seattle. 1 earned run in 6 innings, 3 hits allowed, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Way too many walks for Brandon Walter, that 1 walk, because that was just his 3rd walk in 46 2/3 innings this year. So in addition to elite control, if that's not elite control, I don't know what is. In addition to that, for Brandon Walter, we have an 11.6% swinging strike rate, which is pretty good. We have a 48% ground ball rate, which is pretty good. We have an average exit velocity of 86.1 miles per hour. That's more than pretty good. That's 96th percentile. So he's a decent bat misser, a decent ground ball guy, elite at hard contact suppression, and then elite with control. I think that all adds up to a pretty good pitcher. I know he's a 28-year-old kind of minor league journeyman type, but he wouldn't be the first of that type. I think especially among the pitcher ranks, like it feels like quality major league pitchers come with every sort of background. And at this point, you know, I didn't find this week to be particularly robust in terms of waiver wire additions. But Brandon Walter was the name I was putting in claims for the most.
And Brandon Walter, just 34% rostered. He's also a SPARP on CBS for those who play in points leagues at the D-backs this week. Don't love that matchup. We'll talk about Suarez in just a bit, but man, that D-backs lineup, if there's one thing they can still do, they can mash. So that does worry me a little bit about Brandon Walter, who throws as many strikes as he does, but it's hard to argue with what he's done thus far. 2 earned runs or fewer in 6 of 8 outings for Brandon Walter. And among the...
I'm not eager to start him this week either, for what it's worth, but I just think, well, imagine if he does have a good start against the Diamondbacks and you didn't pick him up before that.
Among those shallow league names I mentioned earlier, again, Taj Bradley, Priester, Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson, Trevor Rogers, Jose Soriano. I think I'd take Priester ahead of Walter. Mm-hmm. I think Nelson and Rogers are close. What do you think about that? Those are the 3 I think I would take ahead of Walter. What do you think about Nelson and Rogers ahead of him?
Well, I definitely like Nelson more for this week because he is facing the Pirates, I believe.
Yep, that's
check that. Yep, Pirates. So he's one of my top sleeper pitchers for this week, and as long as he throws that fastball over 60% of the time, it's just so funny how consistently that determines how Nelson performs, because his last start before the All-Star break, it wasn't very good. He threw like 58% fastballs. And then first start after the All-Star break, great. He throws 69% fastball. So it's like 60% is that magic number. He's nothing without it. And that goes back to like when he joined the rotation last year. I've been tracking that for a long time now with Nelson. He's pretty reliable as long as he does that. I think maybe Brandon Walter has more upside, but yeah, it kind of depends what you're looking for. If you want the higher floor play, if you want the more immediate play with that Pirates matchup coming up, maybe Nelson. But otherwise, I think I'd go Walter.
All right. Before we get to our first break, do want to mention a few hitters improving their trade value. Eugenio Suarez. I mean, the guy is on fire. Back-to-back multi-home run games on Saturday and Sunday. He now has multiple home runs in 3 of his last 5 games, and he is up to 35 homers on the season. That's second in all of baseball, and leads the National League. He's behind only Aaron Judge overall. The D-backs are so interesting. They pretty much control this trade deadline. They've won 4 games in a row. They're still 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. So I don't know that it's just a complete slam dunk that they sell, but they do have a lot of expiring deals, and I think they can get a pretty good haul for some of these players right now. So very interesting to see what the D-backs wind up doing at the deadline. And Luis Robert is trying to improve the value here. Strong weekend for him. 5 hits, 1 homer, 7 runs scored, 3 steals. The overall numbers are still bad. We know there's talent with Luis Robert. We spoke about this last week, but I think maybe a change of scenery can help get Luis Robert back on track here. Scott, anything to add on Suarez? I know you almost chose him as your player of the weekend.
I think, it's the sort of thing like the performance needs to be pointed out, but where do you go with it from there? In terms of analysis, right? Yeah, just keep starting Suarez. He's great. A trade, if he does get traded, if the Diamondbacks decide to do that, it would be interesting because he has really thrived in Arizona specifically. You look at his home away splits the last 2 years, and his career was on the rocks kind of before going to the Diamondbacks. So I do wonder a little bit how he'd fare outside of it, but obviously we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. As my mom used to say often when we were children.
And now it's something I feel like we reference so much now, right? As fantasy analysts, it's like, life finds a way. We'll figure it out when we get there kind of thing. Yeah. I'm sure we'll see lots of trade proposals and things thrown out there leading up to the deadline. I did have a few of my buddies send me this one, obviously Yankee fans, whatever. There is a proposal on the table, 5 Yankees prospects, not George Lombard, not Spencer Jones, 5 prospects, including Cam Schlittler to the D-backs for Merrill Kelly, Eugenio Suarez, and Jalen Beeks. That's just a rumor, proposed deal that's out there. That's according to Ricky Ricardo, the Spanish voice of the New York Yankees. So do with that what you will, but it would be interesting.
It's a little more specific than you usually hear rumors.
It is.
That's a lot to leak.
I know it's only 1 start, but I really don't want the Yankees to trade Cam Schlittler after what I saw him do. Oh, man, he was, throwing 100 miles per hour. Now, is he dealing with an arm injury? We'll talk about that.
The Yankees have a lot of interesting pitching prospects in A-ball.
Yeah.
I forget whether it's their low A or high A affiliate, but that rotation is like stacked.
Yeah. Ben Hess, Bryce Cunningham, they definitely have some interesting names there. We shall see. Before we hit our first break, a reminder to listen to FBT and FBT Express on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code. That will take you right to the FBT Spotify feed. And if you do listen on Spotify, leave us a comment on today's episode with which D-backs player you think will be traded first, if any. And big thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube as well. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Hi. Novocaine?
Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount+.
You're gonna love this.
Oh, you're strong! It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount+.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball. Today, let's hit the news and notes from the weekend, and we have more third base injuries, unfortunately. Isaac Paredes placed in the IL due to a right hamstring strain. You might remember back in June, he dealt with a left hamstring. Now it's the right hamstring that lands him on the IL. And Alec Boehm placed on the IL as well with a fractured left rib cage. Otto Kemp should get some playing time in his place, in Alec Boehm's place. So for those who play in deeper leagues, I think Otto Kemp is kind of an interesting player. But for those in the shallowest of leagues, the names we keep talking about, Scott, Addison Barger, who had 4 hits on Saturday, another home run on Sunday, and Noelvi Marte feel like the 2 best replacements at third base.
Yeah, they're both over 70% rostered in CBS leagues now. So they're getting up there, but they could get up there faster. Yeah, I think Barger's big weekend helps. Also, Royce Lewis, who's only 66% rostered, he homered twice on Sunday. His first 2 home runs since coming back from, I believe it was his own hamstring injury.
Yep.
He had been pretty cold, but homered twice in Colorado, worth pointing out. But they were legit home runs. Nothing Coors aided about them.
Yep.
So Royce Lewis hopefully trending up.
A couple other third base replacements, if those shallow league names are no longer available. Colt Keith, only strong side platoon, but he has been hitting well. Willie Castro has been hitting well over the past month or so. Jorge Polanco has turned things back on here in July. I know you like the Mariners matchups this week as well, Scott. Caleb Durbin has been hitting really well over the past month, and Brady House for those in deeper leagues. If you do need some third base replacements, there are honestly a lot of interesting names out there right now. So not a terrible position if you need help.
And I do think Austin Riley is going to be back this week. He's already taken batting practice. He's already run. So if he's the third baseman you lost, maybe he's about to be found. He's the replacement himself, because I think he's eligible to be activated as soon as Tuesday. Yeah. So I expect him. In shallower leagues, maybe you don't play Austin Riley if you have a good alternative, but in the leagues where I have him, I think they're both 15-teamers, and I'm just planning on starting him.
All right, Freddie Freeman left Sunday after getting hit by a pitch on his left wrist, and he left the game immediately. It seemed worrisome. Anytime we get these hit by pitches, it's always scary. X-rays did come back negative. He's considered day-to-day. I've had a couple of people ask me on Twitter, Scott, what do we do with Freeman this week? He has been struggling mightily since the start of June. I just wonder if, he getting his ankle heel worked on all season. He had a thigh thing that popped up, and now he's got this wrist. I think if you have a serviceable first base replacement, this might be a reason to just get away from Freddie Freeman while he, kind of deals with all these ailments right now.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, this doesn't seem like the kind of injury that's going to put him on the IL. They were treating it more like a sigh of relief, that it was just a contusion. Wouldn't surprise me if he missed a game or two. I'm generally not going to be not someone who likes to be reactive when it comes to stud hitters. I'm just going to stick with them through whatever slumps they're going through. It's really been since the start of June. And remember, Freddie Freeman entered June batting like 375. So he was due for some correction, I would say. What's been the weirdest thing about it, though, is he struck out nearly 30% of the time during this slump, which is very uncharacteristic. You would have to have a really good alternative, I'd say. You'd have to have like a Michael Busch or a Jonathan Aranda that you're struggling to get in your lineup. I don't think I'm picking up I'm not picking up Carlos Santana to start him over Freddie Freeman or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yordan Alvarez started swinging a bat on Friday and is traveling with the team. He's been out since May 5th with a fractured hand. Hunter Green is on track to make a rehab start in the Arizona Complex League early this week. Max Fried is hopeful that he'll be able to start against the Blue Jays this week. Sounds like it could be Wednesday. He's been dealing with a blister since before the All-Star break, and this is something that's actually landed him on the IL a few times in the past couple of years. Scott, do you start or sit Max Fried, who's dealing with that blister?
I don't think there has been actual talk of him going on the IL. Not that I've seen.
He's going to start Wednesday. I wonder if it's kind of affecting his, his ability. He's slowed up a little bit recently, and maybe it's because of this blister.
But he is a viable Cy Young candidate. I think if he's expected to start, I probably just start him.
All right, speaking of the Yankees, apparently Cam Schlittler has been dealing with upper arm soreness, and imaging came back negative. The Yankees are hopeful that he'll pitch in their upcoming series against the Blue Jays. The Phillies signed David Robertson to a 1-year, $6.2 million deal for the rest of the season. Prorated over a full year, that would be a $16 million contract, so that's pretty sizable get here for David Robertson for the final 2 months of the season. He did pitch with the Phillies back in 2022. He's now 40 years old, was still very effective last year, a 3 ERA, a 111 whip, over 12K per nine. Scott, what do you think about David Robertson's fit here in the Phillies bullpen?
It took him long enough. I don't know. I don't know how he couldn't find a deal to his liking for the first 4 months of the season, because plenty of contenders could have used bullpen help. Plenty of teams that are non-contenders now, but might have been contenders if they had a good bullpen. Yeah, I mean, the Phillies closer spot is in flux right now. It doesn't feel like either Orion Kirkering or Matt Strahm has really taken the job and run with it. Meanwhile, you have Jose Alvarado due back from suspension in less than a month now. So I think it'll remain in flux, but David Robertson is good enough that, if his first 3 or 4 appearances he's lights out, then I could see him kind of claiming that job for himself. It's possible. Pick him up in an NL-only league, if nothing else.
Yeah, David Robertson, 1% rostered. Deeper roto leagues for sure. I think 15-team mixed roto leagues for now. And if he climbs that leverage ladder quickly for Philly, then maybe we're even talking about him in 12-team leagues as well. That is David Robertson. Steven Kwan missed all 3 games this weekend with a wrist injury. He received an injection on Saturday. Scott, start or sit Steven Kwan this week?
I would prefer to sit him. I might be tough in a 5 outfielder league, but if you have anybody respectable to plug in his place, I mean, this sounds like something that could potentially put him on the IL.
Nathan Eovaldi was scratched Sunday due to tightness in his back. It's not clear if he'll need an IL stint. Do you start or sit Nathan Eovaldi this week?
I would try to avoid him, I think.
Yep. Pete Alonso was out of the lineup Sunday with a contusion near the base of his right thumb. X-rays were negative. I believe the Mets play on Monday, so we should find out more about that right away. The D-backs reinstated Ketel Marte from the restricted list, and though he wasn't in the lineup on Sunday, he was away from the team for a few days after a burglary took place in his home during the All-Star break. So terrible news there for Ketel Marte, but sounds like he could potentially be back in the D-backs lineup early this week. Mookie Betts was given Saturday off to reset and then was back in the lineup on Sunday as the leadoff hitter. It sounds like the plan is for Betts to lead off until Max Muncy rejoins the Dodgers, hopefully sometime in August. I did read an article just acknowledging that Betts' stomach illness at the end of spring training threw his mechanics off early in the season, and it's been hard for him to regain form ever since. So, we've speculated that makes sense that it would kind of derail Betts' season, but yeah, we're talking about a sub 700 OPS at this point for Mookie Betts. I mean, this has gotten really bad.
Yes, it has. It has gotten bad. I think because the shallowest leagues tend to be points leagues, and that is a format where Mookie Betts is he's still producing. I mean, his plate discipline is so good. And that's the shallowest formats. And so between that and the fact he qualifies at 2 different positions, shortstop and outfield, I still think would be awfully hard for anybody to sit. Obviously batting near the top or at the top right now, I guess, of the Dodgers lineup also helps to bolster his numbers. So it's been disappointing for sure. And given that Mookie Betts is turning 33 this offseason, I think even, with understanding the stomach issue will be well behind him when next year is starting up, I think we're going to see Mookie Betts go much later than we've ever seen him go. Like round 4, round 5. Something like that. Obviously, it depends how the last 2 months go, but if it continues to play out like this, it's going to be it's going to hurt his value for sure.
It might create an incredible buying opportunity too, because I mean, it was hard to see that stomach illness thing coming. We just had no idea how, or we didn't know about it until most people had already drafted, and so we didn't know how it would affect him as well. But if he's healthy this offseason,
But
maybe I'm not saying he gets all the way back to Mookie Betts levels, but
yeah,
if he's healthy, I could see a bounce back next year for sure.
I could see a bounce back, but what I'm saying is it's an easy scapegoat.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean it's false. It's just you're looking for things to blame. The thing you don't want to blame is I'm just older now, I guess, and not as good. So I wouldn't. He would if he finishes the season like this, Mookie Betts. I wouldn't be drafting him with a lot of confidence next year. There would certainly be a point where I draft him for the possibility that it was all the stomach thing and he's going to be totally fine now. But it's not like I would be totally banking on that.
Brandon Lau left Saturday's game due to a flare-up of plantar fasciitis in his left foot. He just returned from the IL after dealing with an oblique injury. No surprise, he was not in the lineup Sunday as well. Ha-Seong Kim started at second base, now has 2 games at second, so would be nice if we could get that second base eligibility from Ha-Seong Kim. Grayson Rodriguez has been shut down again for 1 week after experiencing elbow discomfort, and just feels like this season might not happen. Might just be a lost year for Grayson Rodriguez. And honestly, could even be a longer term thing, Scott. I mean, this whole arm feels like there is something off right now for Rodriguez between the elbow, the lat, he's dealt with shoulder. It's just, these all kind of feel like compensatory injuries too. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there is something very wrong right now with Grayson Rodriguez's arm.
Who else was it? Who I think he's returned by now, but he had a similar situation. Oh, I think it was Sean Manaea, right? Where he had just an elbow thing happen on his rehab assignment, and the initial reports were very doom and gloom. But it's like, no, he's just going to miss a couple days.
Yeah, he had an injection for, I think, loose bodies in his elbow.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was Manaea.
It was just weird that they said he's going to shut down for a week. A week? That doesn't sound like much for elbow discomfort. So I don't know. I don't want to go overboard. I think. Look, I was looking to create roster space in a couple leagues, and I felt like I could drop Grayson Rodriguez in order to do it, just because I think he was easy to pick up off the waiver wire a couple weeks ago, and so I don't think he'll be any harder to pick up now that he's got an elbow thing too. So it's fine. Yeah, you don't have to hold on to him, but I'm not totally writing off his return either.
Edward Cabrera, who left his last start with elbow discomfort, will start Tuesday against the Padres. Do you start or sit Edward Cabrera this week?
I mean, it's a pretty good matchup, but I don't have the highest level of trust in Edward Cabrera to begin with, and coming back from elbow discomfort, I'd lean against using him.
Adley Rutschman is on track to begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Tuesday. We mentioned earlier, but Austin Riley ran in the outfield and around the bases on Sunday, and he seems likely to be activated when first eligible on Tuesday. Chris Bubic left after just 66 pitches on Sunday, and his velocity was way down across the board. It turns out that he was pitching through illness, which might explain it. Let's hope that's it. That's the main reason, because we know Bubic has been wearing down lately as well. Noelvi Marte made his first career start in right field on Sunday. The Reds had Santiago Espinal at third base against a left-handed pitcher, so perhaps Marte could gain outfield eligibility at some point as well. Marcell Ozuna has only started 1 of 3 games this past weekend, and we know he's been struggling a lot. Scott, do you just bench Ozuna right now? Struggles, playing time. Is he, dare I say, a drop?
I think in 12-teamers, at least, you could definitely think about dropping him. 12-teamers are shallower, obviously, because I don't know that the playing time is going to recover completely, presuming he stays with the Braves. And, his struggles are likely tied to that tear in his hip. Now, I did read, he said that the hip feels great now, and it's just a matter of getting his timing down. I don't know how much I believe that. Like I was saying, I don't know that we can totally blame Mookie Betts' struggles on the illness earlier this year. I don't know that we can totally dismiss the concerns over Ozuna's hip just because he's saying he's feeling fine now. But that is what he's saying. And if that's the case, there is still hope of him turning things around, but he's got to get in the lineup to do that. And right now, with the way both Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin are going, I don't think that's a given at all.
All right, Dustin May will be used in long relief Monday after Shohei Ohtani starts the game. Shane Bieber will make his next rehab start on Tuesday. He's 63% rostered. Luis Heel built up to 57 pitches in his second rehab start at AA on Friday. He's 70% rostered. Spencer Arrighetti tossed 3 scoreless innings in his rehab start at AA on Saturday, 71% rostered. And Kyle Bradish will report to High A on Thursday to make his first rehab start. He is 27% rostered. Scott, how would you rank Bieber, Heel, Arrighetti, and Bradish as stash candidates right now?
I would go Bieber, Arrighetti, Heel, and then Bradish. I suspect Heel will be back the soonest, but I also think he's the worst. So that's why he's only third on that list for me.
All right, other players who went on the IL this weekend: Sal Frelick with a hamstring strain, Shane Smith with a left ankle sprain, Nolan Gorman with lower back pain, Jake Bowers with a left shoulder impingement that should help the playing time for Andrew Vaughn, and Ryan Ritter of the Rockies with a finger injury. Want to mention one potential prospect stash. I'm not sure it happens with the Yankees, but if he is traded in a deal somewhere else, Spencer Jones is on fire right now. 4 for 5. He had 2 more home runs at AAA on Sunday. I believe he's up to like 10 homers in like 15 or 20 games at AAA. He is just completely mashing. So if Spencer Jones is traded somewhere else, maybe he gets playing time towards the end of the season. If he stays with the Yankees, it probably won't happen for him this year, but he'll probably be a name to know for next season. Let's get into the dog of the weekend. Now it's time for the dog of the week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, afoxolaner, moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. And Scott, we are here to talk about one of your favorites to talk about.
No.
It is Sonny Gray.
No.
Got destroyed at the D-backs this weekend. 3 1/3 innings, 11 hits, 9 runs. 8 of those were earned. 2 homers allowed, 11 hard hits allowed in this one. He is just so maddeningly inconsistent, Scott. You don't know from start to start which Sonny Gray is going to show up. He has 3 starts with 6+ earned runs in less than 5 innings this season. He also has 4 starts of 6+ shutout innings with 8+ strikeouts. So, I mean, you can't really play the game of, do I start or sit Sonny Gray? Because, I mean, this is kind of like the Charizard, Scott. He's just as likely to help you as he is to turn around and burn your ratios. So
Yeah. You don't know who he is from start to start. You don't know who he is from year to year. The balance of it, I would say, is positive, which is why he's stuck around so long in the majors and pretty much been a must-start fantasy pitcher for all 13 of his years in the majors. But like, we should have known this. Like, I don't even know what to get into analysis-wise here because it's just Sonny Gray. But I'm kind of just noticing this now. His name, Sonny Gray. It's either going to be Sonny or it's going to be Gray. You know, it's like his name's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
And it describes the state of affairs in that particular moment. The state of like how the sky looks outside. But yeah, like whether it's a good day or a bad day, that's basically what his name Sonny Gray describes. So it makes total sense when you put it in those terms.
Yeah, he has a career low walk rate this year. I think he's throwing too many strikes, and that's how he can just get in trouble and just get bombed at times. So Sonny Gray, yeah, just an impossible player to kind of figure out here for fantasy. I think you mostly just leave him in the lineup, Scott, but I'll ask anyway. Do you start him this week against the Padres?
It's a good matchup. And who knows? Who knows? You know, who knows? Diamondbacks wasn't a good matchup. He got throttled by them. Let's see. It looks like the first start of July at Pittsburgh, not such a great outcome. But the start before that, a one-hit shutout against the Guardians. I don't know. I mean, if you have a stacked rotation, you could probably play it safe and sit Sonny Gray, but otherwise, you're probably got to start him with that matchup.
Yep, I agree as well. That was the Dog of the Weekend segment brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGuard Plus, Afoxolaner, Moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGuard Plus chews. Let's take our final break. When we return, we'll get into all the waiver wire names from this weekend. We'll do that right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's take a look at the waiver wire pitchers from this weekend. I mentioned a lot of these names. Scott, let's dig a little bit deeper. Shallow League names, part 1. Taj Bradley, great start against the Orioles. 6 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts. Had 13 whiffs on 87 pitches, 9 of those on the fastball. He's turned in back-to-back quality starts. Quinn Priester, who we mentioned earlier. Brandon Pfaadt makes it 2 awesome starts in a row. This one against the Cardinals. 7 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts for him. Ryan Nelson, who we mentioned, strong start against the Cardinals. 6 innings, 1 run with 4 strikeouts. Trevor Rogers, another quality start for him. This one at Tampa Bay. 6 innings, 2 runs with 3 strikeouts. He allowed 13 hard hits in this game, but managed to escape with a quality start. He has a quality start in 5 of 7 outings. And Jose Soriano, your boy, Scott, he bounced back with a quality start at the Phillies. 7 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are your 3 favorites from this group?
Okay. 3 favorites. I think... Is Quinn Priester is part of this group? Yeah, we talked about him at the top too. So I think Quinn Priester is number 1, and then I am going to go I'm going to go Ryan Nelson number 2. You don't have Brandon Walter listed here, but I do think
part of the next group.
Okay, yeah, I do think he belongs in this discussion. But if we're just talking about this group, Quinn Priester is number 1, Ryan Nelson number 2. And remember, I like Nelson's matchup against the Pirates this week, especially. Taj Bradley, it's funny. He gets the White Sox this week, so he is now among my sleeper pitchers. I say now among my sleeper pitchers because when we recorded Friday, he wasn't among my sleeper pitchers then. Frank, I had to change out half my sleeper pitchers.
I believe
because so many rotations, alignments coming out of the All-Star break turned out to be not what we were expecting them to be, which maybe tells us what we should do next year coming out of the All-Star break is just wait until Sunday maybe to quickly go through sleeper pitchers for the upcoming week. But anyway, so Taj Bradley has the White Sox coming up. So if you're prioritizing this week, maybe he gets the nod there. He actually already has 11 quality starts this year, which is surprising. He hasn't had a good year overall, but he's been racking up those quality starts. But if I'm doing rest of season, so again, it was Quinn Priester 1, Ryan Nelson 2. If I'm doing rest of season, I am going to take Soriano there. I think Soriano is good. Unfortunately, he's a bit of a Charizard too. The previous two outings were bad because he threw just 57% of his pitches for strikes. Basically, nobody's going to be good if they're throwing 57% of their pitches for strikes. But in this latest outing against the Phillies, we should stress, so nobody was starting him for it. But against the Phillies, he threw 65% of his pitches for strikes, and it went great. So, like, if he doesn't beat himself, I think Jose Soriano is good, and I'd be willing to gamble on that, I think, over what we've seen from Trevor Rogers here recently. By the way, Trevor Rogers' fastball was down like 1.3 miles per hour in this one. It was a good outcome, but part of the reason I was expressing optimism for Trevor Rogers is because his fastball, he'd regained the velocity after losing a bunch last year. So it wasn't what I liked to see, even though the result was good for Rogers at Tampa Bay. Losing the velocity on the fastball, that can't become a trend, or else he's not going to last.
All right, next group here. Some intriguing talents, but rough starts this weekend. So Zebby Matthews did return to the Twins on Saturday. Unfortunately, he had to pitch in Coors Field, where he gave up 5 runs over 4 innings. He still had 17 whiffs on 77 pitches. And the underlying skills remain pretty intriguing here for Zebby Matthews, who is 44% rostered, and Emmett Sheehan, who had a rough start against the Brewers. 3 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 strikeouts, had 8 whiffs on 65 pitches. His other 3 outings before this, 1 earned run in each of those. So still looks like there's a ton of talent. Lots of swinging strikes here as well. Scott, do you think those 2 names are, I don't know, at the top of the entire list of names that we've talked about thus far? Zebby Matthews and Emmett Sheehan.
And no, I'd put Quinn Priester above both of them.
Okay.
And maybe that's it. It depends how immediately you need to use them. I really couldn't see myself starting Emmett Sheehan next week, just because the results haven't been there. You see the talent, but the results haven't been enough that I want to get him in my lineup. So it is kind of a stash and wait situation for him. And Zebby Matthews, kind of the same thing. He does get the Nationals this week, which is a decent matchup and better than Coors Field. And yeah, he got a ton of whiffs. As bad as the result was on Saturday, 17 whiffs on 77 pitches, more than 5 on 2 different ones, or 5 or more, I should say, on 2 different ones. So I liked what I saw from Zebby Matthews, and I think since it went poorly, it gives you a chance to pick him up for cheap. You don't got to spend a lot of fab dollars maybe on Zebby Matthews, and at least in shallower leagues. So I think I like him a little more than Sheehan at this point, but I'm not planning to start either next week. Or I guess I'm not planning to start Priester next week, but I'd be more likely to start Priester next week, I guess.
Yeah, Sheehan at the Red Sox and Zebby Matthews home against the Nationals this upcoming week. The next group of waiver wire pitchers, Brandon Walter, who we spoke about earlier. Eric Lauer turned in a great start against the Giants. 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts for him. He's got a 2.80 ERA and a .97 whip. Dean Kramer was great at Tampa Bay. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on 98 pitches. Last 6 starts for Dean Kramer, a 2 ERA and a .97 whip. Kumar Rocker, strong outing against the Tigers, 6 1/3 shutout with 5 strikeouts, had 13 whiffs on 96 pitches. And Cade Horton, strong start against the Red Sox, 5 2/3 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 86 pitches. I remain intrigued by Cade Horton. His fastball is not good, but all of his secondary pitches get whiffs, and they all look like pretty good pitches outside of the fastball. So just kind of intrigued here by Cade Horton, Scott. What do you think of this group here? Horton, Kumar Rocker, Dean Kramer, Lauer, and Brandon Walter. I think Walter is very clearly at the top of this list, right?
Yeah, Walter's definitely at the top for me. He'd be kind of in the middle of the previous list. So, yeah. And I've gone, you know why I like Brandon Walter? If you don't, rewind to the start of the show, play it back, because I explained it all there. These others, I can't get excited about any of them. Of course, Rocker has the pedigree. So maybe just by default, well, Horton has the pedigree too. Horton, you say I remain interested in Horton. Well, he was a consensus top 100 prospect a couple years in a row, so that makes sense. But I just don't know what it would take for me to use either Horton or Rocker. I'm not anywhere close to that yet. And then Kramer, he's a fine streamer. We've seen him get hot before, but I think he's been around long enough that we know where it ends up. And Lauer, sort of the same for him. I know he pitched in the Korean League last year, so sometimes pitchers come back and they're different from that experience. Like actually different, like they have different pitches and stuff. I'm not seeing a lot here with Lauer that leads me to believe he's unlocked some new level of talent, high fly ball rate, which can help improve whip by just limiting the number of hits that you're allowing, but he's given up hard contact, and that's normally a bad combination, and I imagine it's going to catch up to Eric Lauer before too long.
I do think some of these names are worthy of streaming. If you just miss out on all of Scott's other sleeper pitchers for this week, Cade Horton is at the White Sox. Dean Kramer is at the Guardians. And yeah, those are the only two good matchups from this group. But I think both are totally fine if you do need some help with streaming this upcoming week. Two names in the deepest of leagues. Jonathan Cannon, a strong start at the Pirates, 7 innings, 1 run with 2 strikeouts here. And Joey Wentz, who is pitching for your Braves, Scott, looked pretty good against the Yankees. 4 shutout innings, 2 strikeouts, had 6 whiffs on 59 pitches. He's made 2 appearances with the Braves. He's thrown 7 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts and a 14.7% swinging strike rate. So 2 of the deepest league names here, but anything here? Do either matter? Jonathan Cannon, Joey Wentz?
Realistically, no. I'm not going to hype Joey Wentz for fantasy. I am interested in seeing how this goes because he's gotten to the Braves in 2 great appearances to start out, throwing his cutter now like half the time. Immediately got to the Braves, started throwing his cutter half the time instead of about a third of the time like he was doing it before. So made a change there with his arsenal and has had this immediate success. Guy who had a really successful year in relief for the Tigers once and used to be a prospect way back in the day. I'm curious to see where this goes for Wentz, but realistically, no, I'm not gonna hype him up for fantasy.
All right, let's take a look at some waiver wire hitters from the weekend. You mentioned Royce Lewis had a big game Sunday, 2 for 4 with a double dong, 66% rostered. Another third base replacement for all those injuries right now, but Barger and Noelvi Marte ahead of him. Austin Hayes, another name we've talked a lot about, 2 for 3 with a double dong on Friday, 55% rostered, remains a name that you can look at in shallower leagues. Again, that's Austin Hayes. Caleb Durbin, Scott, any interest here? 2 for 4 with a homer on Friday, 1 for 4 with a steal on Saturday, has been hitting much better over the past month. 36% rostered, has second and third base eligibility. What do you think about Caleb Durbin right now?
I haven't had many thoughts about Caleb Durbin, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And the reason for that is I'm looking at so the way I usually go about my process every night as I'm preparing for this podcast is I go through the box scores, and if a hitter has a big enough game that I need to look into him more, I will. And Durbin hasn't had that game for me yet. But you're right. There have been a lot of multi-hit games here over the past month or so. And he has some stolen base ability. The average exit velocity is 2nd percentile. So you don't love that. But he pulls the ball in the air pretty well and has a good minor league track record, like he performed in the minors. I don't know. I want to call Caleb Durbin a high priority pickup, but it's not hard to imagine him turning into a useful fantasy piece.
Caleb Durbin in his previous 25 games entering Sunday was hitting .366 with 3 homers, 18 runs, 4 steals, and a 954 OPS. So, yeah, he's been coming on strong here. If you want to ride the hot hand, you could use him as a middle, a corner, a little bit of pop. He's got some speed. I'm impressed by what Caleb Durbin has been doing over the past month or so. Nice weekend for Rockies hitters. Jordan Beck had a big game Friday, 3 for 5 with a sock and a shoe. He had 3 more hits on Sunday. No surprise. He's been really good at home this season, so you can stream him when he's in Coors Field. Ryan McMahon, another name looking to get traded here at the deadline. He homered twice this weekend, had 2 more hits on Sunday. And Ezekiel Tovar returned this weekend. He went 3 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBI on Saturday. Still just 23 years old. Very productive season last year. This year has just been, derailed by injury, unfortunately, for Ezekiel Tovar. Scott, any of these names stand out as, I don't know, should they be more than 50% rostered, like a Tovar, McMahon, or Jordan Beck?
Well, it seems like anytime the Rockies have a week at home, Jordan Beck is the hitter I'm recommending as a streamer option. Lately, I've been doing that some with McMahon too, because he's been better since a terrible April, but his July hasn't gone that well until very recently with the 2-homer game. So I don't know. It's probably about right. Beck, I could see gaining the most in roster rate because he steals some bases, and even just for 5 outfielder leagues, like obviously he needs to be rostered in those. But yeah, pretty fringy overall.
All right, some names here in deeper leagues. Angel Martinez has been hitting well for the Guardians, 3 for 5 with his 9th home run. He led off all 3 games this weekend with no Steven Kwan. And in July, hitting 288, 4 homers, 1 steal, 912 OPS. Again, that's Angel Martinez with the Guardians. Victor Caratini continues to perform well. Back-to-back 3-hit games on Saturday and Sunday. He has started 9 straight, and he's getting a lot of playing time right now with Yordan Alvarez still out. And the D-backs called up Adrian Del Castillo on Friday, and he hit the ground running. 3 hits on Friday, 2 hits on Saturday. Started all 3 games for the D-backs as their designated hitter. 25 years old. He looked really good in both the minors and the majors last year as a hitter. So 3 deep league names here, Scott. Any interest in Angel Martinez, Victor Caratini, and Adrian Del Castillo?
Well, Del Castillo is the most interesting of them. And it seems like he's getting the playing time now. He's catcher eligible for now. It would help if his cause if catcher hadn't been such fertile ground for breakouts this year. Like, I'm not sure, outside of 2 catcher leagues, I'm not sure anybody's really hurting for a catcher at the moment. And then if it turns out he's just DHing for the Diamondbacks, well, he won't have catcher eligibility anymore for next year. So it's not clear that Adrian Del Castillo has a bright future in fantasy, but I think he's a pretty good hitting talent. I mean, the numbers in the minors the last 2 years certainly speak to that. So, 2 catcher leagues, maybe you have use for him. Otherwise, I think we're just scouting what Del Castillo could be for the future.
Got to be honest with you, Scott. You know what really grinds my gears?
What grinds your gears, Frank?
I picked up Adrian Del Castillo in Tout Wars, which is a 15-team roto league, 2 catchers. Goes pretty deep into the catcher pool, obviously.
Yeah.
I put $28 out of a $1,000 budget. Seems like a fair bit amount for Adrian Del Castillo. There's some upside there.
Sure.
There wasn't a single backup bid.
Oh.
What? Come on, man. I mean, I'm happy I won him.
I thought you were going to tell me he's not eligible at catcher in Tout Wars, which
would be terrible. So I hope he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now you got me wondering. But yeah, you know the deal. I mean, with Fab, it's just so tough. It's, put $28 on him and no one else even has a backup bid. So a little frustrating there. I am furiously trying to see if he has catcher eligibility, which I think he does.
Have you felt like you have too much Fab dollars left?
No. I have just under 200. I think I have 190, 180 left.
Yeah, under 200, or let's say under 20 if it's $100 league, like less than 20% left with about 40% of the season left. But it feels like too much. It feels like too much just because we've had a few weeks in a row now where there hasn't been worth throwing that many dollars at anybody.
I disagree, man. I think the trade deadline could be crazy. I think like we can get some new players and new roles and maybe some closers emerging and stuff. I always like to have a little bit more money to spend around the trade deadline because I just feel like crazy things can happen, but it's not a guarantee. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know that it's going to be a crazy trade deadline. I mean, I guess you don't know that either. You're guessing it will be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, because it seems like there are so many fence sitters, so many teams that could go either way, that there aren't a huge number of clear-cut sellers, and the ones that do exist don't have a lot of sellable assets. Like certainly the Braves fall into that category.
Yeah, that's why the D-backs remain so confounding, so important for this trade deadline. So, again, they've won 4 in a row. Not a guarantee that they're going to sell. So we'll see how the next couple of weeks play out here. It's not even weeks. It's 10 days until the deadline. So we shall see. Starter sit these starting pitchers. We had some questionable performances this weekend, as always. Jesus Luzardo continues to struggle, this time against the Angels. 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 homers allowed. And last 9 starts for Luzardo. That includes 2 massive blow-ups.
Yeah.
A 7.71 ERA, a 183 whip, 9 start stretch. I mean, that's a lot, man. It's over 4 walks per 9. His BABIP is over 400 during that time. It's been a mess, Scott. What do you do with Jesus Luzardo this week against the Red Sox?
I think in most cases you're going to start him. It is a little bit of having fun with the endpoints in the game log when you include those 2 starts where he was very much impacted by a pitch tipping issue.
Yeah.
So if you eliminate those,
I think it's still pretty par though, right?
It's a 3.96 ERA in his last 7 starts.
Okay, that's not
with 46 strikeouts and 36 in a 3rd inning, so a huge strikeout rate.
Yeah.
I think most people are going to keep starting Luzardo, or they should. It's not the greatest matchup, the Red Sox, but you'd have to have a lot of you'd have to have a pretty deep pitching staff, I think, to consider sitting him.
All right, Scott, we know you love yourself some Sean Manaea. He pitched well this weekend, but remains on a pitch count up against the Reds. 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, had 8 whiffs on 69 pitches. 13 strikeouts over 7 1/3 innings so far, 2 appearances for him. 45% started. Are you using Manaea this week? Kind of feels like the Mets are kind of deliberately bringing him along slowly.
Yeah, they are, but 5 innings seems like it would be the next box to check off there for Manaea, and he goes 5 innings, he gets you a win, and he's facing an Angels lineup that is the most strikeout prone against left-handers. So I would lean towards starting Manaea. Not saying you have to start him, but I would like to.
What about Gavin Williams, who had one of his best starts of the season Sunday against the Athletics? 7 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts to just 1 walk, 19 whiffs on 96 pitches, and threw 69% of his pitches for strikes. That is such a key number here for Gavin Williams. He flashes these great starts, Scott. It feels like too few and far between for him. Are you using Gavin Williams at the Royals this week?
Oh, that's such a good matchup.
Yeah.
Coming off what may be his best start of the season with the 11 strikeouts. Yeah, I think that's something I'd like to do. He's a bit of a Charizard himself, right? But he also did something else different other than just throw a lot more strikes in this start. He threw a lot more sinkers, 22% versus the usual 3%, and faded his 4-seamer in response. That seems legit. It doesn't seem like it was a pitch categorization error, at least from what I could see by looking at the pitch characteristics. But I don't know. I wonder if maybe he has an easier time locating that sinker than the 4-seamer, and that contributed to the improved strike throwing. We'll see if that continues moving forward for Williams. definitely something to monitor.
All right, next up, we have Mackenzie Gore, who got crushed by his former team, the Padres. 2 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 8 runs, 3 walks to 2 strikeouts, allowed 2 homers in this one. Had a 5.45 BABIP against, despite just 4 hard hits allowed. So, look, he still gave up 2 home runs, so it's not all bad luck here for Mackenzie Gore. But he's, struggled a little bit lately. The control has been, a little bit worse here for Mackenzie Gore. Does he just remain a must start, Scott, at the Twins this week for Mackenzie Gore?
I mean, it should have gone better against the Padres. I've mentioned a couple times this show that they're a good matchup. I wonder, the Twins feel like a good matchup too. I wonder how they fare against left-handers specifically. If I could find that real quick. And the answer is that they have the 10th highest strikeout rate against left-handers, and they have they're like middle of the pack in OPS. Okay, that doesn't really tell us that much. I probably start Gore because I don't see a clear enough red flag here to make me think he's just losing it. But obviously, you regret starting him for this one. I think it was minus 15 in points leagues.
Brutal for Mackenzie Gore. Scott, any concern with these two pitchers here? Logan Webb's strikeouts have really faded here. He was at the Blue Jays this weekend. Granted, they're a team that does not strike out much at all. 6 innings, 11 hits, only 1 strikeout in this one. He allowed 12 hard hits in this game. Last 6 starts for Logan Webb. It's a 4.34 ERA, 142 WHIP, and just a 9% swinging strike rate. And the other name, Ranger Suarez, got roughed up by the Angels on Sunday. 4 1/3 innings, 6 runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. And his velocity was down quite a bit. Between 1.3 and 2.3 miles per hour on all of his pitches. This is the second time his velocity has been down this much in his past 4 outings. So, I don't know, just kind of catches me off guard here. A little bit of a red flag. Any concern with Suarez and Logan Webb here?
I don't really have any concerns with Webb. You said that was what span of time did you say? 6 starts?
6 starts, he has a 9% swinging strike rate. So the strikeouts have just kind of fallen off here. The ERA is 4.34 during that stretch. It's not completely awful, but
yeah, because I look at that last 6 starts for Webb, and the first 4 were great. It's really just the last, the first one of that 6-start stretch, he had 9 strikeouts.
Yeah. It's mostly just that the swinging strike rate is kind of
I guess
for him.
No, I don't see a lot to worry about there. Now, Suarez is a different matter because he's done this a couple times in his career. This is just look at last year for Ranger Suarez. So last year, through 16 starts, he had a 1.83 ERA, was throwing 66% of his pitches for strikes. 16 starts with a 1.83 ERA. Final 12 starts, he had a 6.04 ERA because he threw his just 62% of his pitches for strikes instead of 66. So and the reason I'm bringing that up is because I know you're talking about the velocity, but he also just didn't throw a lot of strikes in this start. He walked 4. I believe he threw. The actual strike percentage was 58%.
Yeah.
And remember, it was the bad stretch with the ERA over 6 last year was 62%. So his control very suddenly went from not elite, but good to very suspect. And it all kind of fell apart from there. And I say this has happened a couple times in Ranger Suarez's career because go back and look at 2021 down the stretch when he first entered the rotation, and then how things went for him in 2022. It seems like he can have stretches where he's commanding so well that nobody can touch him. But then once he loses it, he's a very ordinary pitcher. And I'm afraid that's happening with him. If more's going on with the drop in velocity, okay, that's all the more reason to be concerned. I have no explanation for that yet, though.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's wrap up here with some leftovers on the pitching side. The first group, Joe Ryan dominated in Coors Field. 7 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts with 18 whiffs on 88 pitches. Tarek Skubal, dominant once again on Sunday Night Baseball. Unfortunately, wound up with a no decision at Texas. 6 2/3, 1 run, 11 strikeouts, 0 walks. Finally, Dylan Cease, a strong start at the Nationals. 5 1/3 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts, 0 walks. And Spencer Strider shut down the Yankees, 6 shutout with 8 strikeouts for him. Scott, anything that stood out for these 4? Strider, Cease, Skubal, and Joe Ryan.
I guess it was a little odd that both Cease and Skubal. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Cease's velocity was actually up on everything. I was remembering wrong. I thought it was down. Skubal's velocity was down. I'm not sure it matters. Obviously, he struck out 11, but it was down. Cease's was actually up, and he actually did not throw strikes at a particularly high percentage, but walked nobody, missed a ton of bats at Washington. I still think much better days are coming for him than he's already banked to this year, and people are tired of hearing that. But hey, maybe this is the start. Strider still doesn't look like old Strider, but you look at the game log, there's a lot of 8-9 strikeout efforts in there. It certainly seemed good enough to make him close to must start in fantasy.
The biggest problem I see with Strider right now, and it's remained the case all season, he's just allowing so much hard contact. 92.4 average exit velocity against for Strider. It's never been higher than 88.5 miles per hour any other season of his career. So, I mean, we're talking, it's up 4 miles per hour than we've ever seen before for Strider. So, getting lots of whips, but also lots of hard contact.
Right. And striking out a lot of guys is one way to counteract that. If you're just allowing less contact in general, then you could deal with the hard contact more. But, his ERA is 3.59. And I'd say he's earned every bit of that. And I'm not necessarily counting on that dropping drastically.
Yeah. I mean, if you told me we were getting a mid-3s ERA, 115 whip, 11 K per 9 from Strider rest of season, I think we're all pretty happy with that. It's not prime Strider, but that's obviously a really, really good starting pitcher. Next group here, Luis Castillo, great outing against the Astros, 6 2/3 shutout with 7 strikeouts for him. He's got the ERA down to 3.21 on the season here, but I don't know, perhaps a sell high opportunity here on Luis Castillo. Tyler Glasnow, a tough luck loss against the Brewers, 6 innings, 1 run with 6 strikeouts. Shota Imanaga makes it 2 strong starts in a row. This one against the Red Sox, 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts. And Nick Lodolo dominated the Mets, 7 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. Scott, anything on Lodolo, Imanaga, Tyler Glasnow, and Luis Castillo?
I mean, Imanaga's going deeper into games, even more than before he had that IL stint. He's starting to look more like his 2024 version again. I know it started because he threw a sweeper more. That was back just before the All-Star break. He threw his sweeper 21% of the time, and that was his first 7-inning start. Actually did not sustain that. Got that sweeper usage was closer to what it's been all season in this latest start against the Red Sox, but he still went 7 shutout innings, still got 15 whiffs. I think he's fine. I think he's trending the right direction, and you could think of him as a must start moving forward.
Alrighty. Some hitting leftovers. Xander Bogaerts has been hitting well over the past month or so. 2 for 5 with a steal on Friday, 2 for 4 with a grand slam on Sunday. Kyle Schwarber continuing his huge July, 2 more home runs this weekend. He's up to 7 home runs and an OPS over 1,000 for the month. Bryce Harper turning things back up as well, 3 for 4 with a double dong on Friday, added another home run on Saturday. Hopefully, big second half coming for Harper, who just dealt with a bunch of injuries here in the first half. Shea Langoliers started the second half with a bang. He homered on both Friday and Saturday. Kyle Stowers continues his tear. 2 homers on Friday, including a walk-off shot that was, if you include that game and the game before the break, 5 home runs over the course of 2 games there for Kyle Stowers.
And then he hit one in the All-Star game, sort of. He hit one in the swing off.
In the swing off, that's right.
Yeah.
He's been awesome. Ozzy Albies maybe coming back to life here, second half. Home run on Friday, and then 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe on Saturday against the Yankees. He also had 5 RBI in that game. So
9 RBI in a 2-day span.
A welcome sight. We'll take anything we can from Ozzy Albies. Go ahead.
And like I brought this up before, but the mainstays at the top of the second base rankings, let's leave Ketel Marte out of it. The mainstays have been, over the years, Jose Altuve, Marcus Semien, and Ozzy Albies. And all 3 of them make weak contact on average. That's always been the case for them. They thrived in spite of it. So we have a year like this one. Doesn't seem like the ball's carrying as well. Maybe that nerfs them, since they're not players who hit the ball that hard to begin with. They all got off to terrible starts. Altuve and Semien have come around. Altuve especially. It's been going on for long enough now that we have no concerns for him. Semien, a little more recent, but seems to have righted the ship as well. Albies hasn't, but because they all have the same underlying concern, he's actually the youngest of them by a lot. It wouldn't surprise me. I have more concerns about Albies bouncing back than our dog of the first half, Michael Harris. I think Michael Harris's talent level makes it a little more certain he'll be fine long term. But there's still a good chance Albies bounces back too. He's 95% rostered in CBS Sports League still, so I know a lot of other people must believe that also. This weekend is your reminder of that it could still turn around.
Does not look like the home run derby has affected Junior Caminero's swing at all.
Caminero! Ha, Caminero!
3 for 5 with a double dong, 4 RBI on Friday for Caminero, and then 2 for 5 with an RBI on Sunday. Willy Adames, 2 home runs on Saturday as well, has been hitting much better over the past month. Nick Kurtz continues to rake 7 hits this weekend, including another home run. In July, Nick Kurtz is hitting .346 with 6 home runs and an OPS over 1,300. PCA picking up right where he left off, 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe on Saturday. And Shohei Ohtani is doing Shohei Ohtani things. Stole a base on Friday and then homered on each of Saturday and Sunday as well. Call to the bullpen. Some updates here for the Nationals on Friday. Kyle Finnegan entered the 9th inning with the game tied. He was then charged with 5 earned runs on a walk and 4 hits. He took his 4th loss, then bounced back on Saturday with 2 strikeouts for his 19th save. Even with that outing, last 12 games for Finnegan, it's a 9 ERA and a 136 whip. So not sure that any team is actually looking to trade for Kyle Finnegan at this point.
Didn't happen at the deadline last year, and he just kept racking up saves. So maybe that'll happen again.
For the Marlins on Friday, Anthony Bender pitched a clean 7th inning with a 1-run lead, facing 9-1-2 in the Royals lineup. Ronnie Enriquez then pitched a clean 8th with a 1-run lead, facing the heart of the order. Calvin Fauché got the 9th, and he gave up a game-tying home run to someone named John Rave. The Marlins would eventually win in extras. And then on Saturday, Ronnie Enriquez pitched in the 8th inning with a 1-run lead. He gave up a solo home run to tie the game. Anthony Bender got the 9th, and he picked up his 3rd save of the season. So, if you think you know anything about the Marlins bullpen, you don't. And that's that.
That's that.
All right. For the Rangers on Friday, Robert Garcia got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He struck out 2 for his 7th save. Remains the pseudo closer, I guess, for now, unless they bring somebody else in. For the Rockies on Friday, Seth Halverson got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead, struck out 2 for his 9th save. For the Braves on Saturday, Raisel Iglesias got the 9th inning with the game tied, gave up a go-ahead grand slam to Trent Grisham, took his 6th loss of the season. And then for the Tigers on Sunday, Will Vest got the final 4 outs for his 16th save, and feels like he's locked that job down more because Tommy Canley has been struggling quite a bit recently. So not that there was really much of a question, but yeah, Will Vest is just the closer for the Tigers.
So it was an ugly outing for Iglesias Saturday. But we had talked about how much better he had been, and to demonstrate this, I will point out his 8 appearances prior to that ugly outing Saturday. 8 appearances, 1 hit allowed, 11 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
He had been locked in. And so, I still think he's back in that closer role, even though it went poorly Saturday.
All right, to stream or not to stream on Monday, we have Tomoyuki Sugano at the Guardians, Brady Singer is at the Nationals, Hayden Birdsong at the Braves, Noah Cameron at the Cubs. Cameron's up to 79%. I'm going to take him off this list because that's cheating. Jacob Lopez at the Rangers, Jack Leiter gets the Athletics.
79% on CBS probably means like 49% on Yahoo. I'm exaggerating slightly, but only slightly.
If Noah Cameron's out there, you could stream him on Monday. Although the Cubs,
It's the Cubs. It is the Cubs, to be fair. Jacob Lopez at Texas jumps out at me. Not that I am eager to do it, but it seems like the best one, most upside anyway. Brady Singer at Washington should go okay. And I guess, I really don't want to start Tomoyuki Sugano. Cleveland's a great matchup, but he has like an 8 ERA and a 2 whip in his last 6 starts and no strikeout upside to speak of. So I'd rather not.
And then on Tuesday, we have Cam Schlittler at the Blue Jays. Frankie Montas gets the Angels. Landon Roop is at the Braves. Eduardo Rodriguez against the Astros. Brad Lord, I am Lord, up against the Reds.
I don't know. He's been in relief, right? So that just seems like a bullpen day.
I guess I would go Schlittler at the Blue Jays and Roop at the Braves, but I don't.
Roop is my favorite. I don't know that I'm ready to do Schlittler, but it's a decent matchup at Toronto.
All right, we're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.